Hello, hello, lovelies, and welcome to the Goddess Evolution online retreat. I'm your host, Jonita D'souza, and I am here with a very special guest today. And together we will be revealing the secrets on how to channel the divine to heal your past lives and timelines. Jonita, would you please introduce yourself and tell us what exactly it is that you do?
Yeah, how happy I am to be here talking about my favorite topic, the goddesses and all things related. Thank you, Shantana, for holding this space. I'm excited to be here. So what do I do? It's so hard to explain in words often, but the major essence of my work is bringing a bridge between the Eastern philosophy of classical Tantra to the modern day rituals of us busy women, the professionals. So I was born in India. And so I have this lineage of the classical Tantra, which is not very vividly taught or here over in the West. I live in London, UK, and Europe. I travel around this area, so I've been living here, and I could see like this bridge was really helping me, and my work has become this dance between the Eastern and the Western world, and so my work is mostly around sacred sensuality and classical tantra for self leadership, and I do it using online retreats like this one, online circles, in-person retreats. So that's a gist of my work.
Wow, what got you into this?
Mm. So I think what got me into this was the pure desire to be independent woman. And as I mentioned earlier, I was born in India, and growing up in the 80s and 90s there was very patriarchal society, I would say. It's changing, and however, it at that time when I was there, it was a very patriarchal society. And although India is known for its goddess culture all over the world, the very usage of it on day-to-day life was not very visible to me, and it was really confusing. In fact, it was off-putting for me to see the religious inclination to goddesses, but just that, but not seeing women as the goddesses. So it was really confusing, and I felt myself to be in this mixed messaging, and I never felt that I could express myself as a young girl. I did not know how to voice my concerns, my ideas, my decisions. I was super introvert. I am still highly sensitive and empath. I would cry watching movies. So my parents were really worried about this little girl and what she can do in her life. So they instilled one belief in me while I was really young, and which was that I have to be financially independent in order to feel independence in my life as a woman in those terms during that time. So that got into my head, and I started studying, and very hard, because that was the only way I could understand how to become financially independent, is to study hard, get a job and all of that. And like many Indians, I became an IT engineer. And I was like, oh, at the age of 21, I secured a nice job in an IT company, and I was um, earning good money, but I did not feel expressed. And I still did not know how to be seen, how to be heard. I did not even feel good among the boardroom of these men who did not take me seriously. So things were not really fulfilling after all those years of working, studying so hard, to become an engineer and all of that. And somehow at the back of my mind, I always thought that women in the West are free, are independent. They have more freedom of choice and expression. And to be really honest, that's this teenage girl in me. She believed this only because of the influence of MTV, like really. So I thought women in the West are free. They can wear whatever they want. They can walk in the streets feeling safe, which I did not have access to at the time. Even though I was making good money, I did not feel safe in the streets. So I had an opportunity to move to London, UK, after 1 year of working in the IT company. And I was like, yes, I'm going because that's my independence. And I moved to UK. I was happy, so free as a young girl and doing all sorts of things that I could do, like a bird out of cage, going in all sorts of binging and unhealthy habits, having these girlfriends, and towards the end of weekend after a very long shifts of Monday to Friday working, when we would go out on Fridays and get drunk with these girlfriends. That's when they started sharing with me that they were so tired of doing the beautiful and looking the good in order to be accepted, in order to be promoted, in order to be liked in their relationship, at work, in their circles. Like they just wanted to just be in their mess. And after a few drinks, all of these was this normal conversation. And that hit me, because in that moment I realized that, wow, they're not free too. Like I was under this impression that women in the West are free and they feel good and they know what it is and to be happy, independent, expressed. And in that moment I realized it wasn't about being in the East or the West. We just have very similar feelings, emotions, fears, desires, insecurities. So in that moment those worlds collapsed for me, and it was even more confusing because where do I go now? Right. So that was the beginning of my journey of figuring out what does it mean to be a woman. I was 23, and the more I was figuring out, my world around me was collapsing. My father passed away. I went into depression. I had severe case of psoriasis, abusive relationship, and everything was collapsing. And I thought it should be working fine because I'm trying to figure out, right? But no, everything was falling apart. And now that I know in hindsight, it was all falling apart for me to be brushed to this direction. And hence I started exploring femininity, which answered a lot of things for me and eventually led me to create this business online.
That's amazing. Like you've had quite the journey. So you've really gone inwards and tapped into your feminine so that you can create that space for other women.
Yes, and it was not even intentional, to be really honest, because when I started working with a mentor, she gave me some practices which I started talking to my girlfriends, and they started avoiding me because they were like, "Oh my God, she's gone woo woo, like all of this breath work and womb work, and no, 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 let's go out for drinks." Like, and I was like, "No, listen, let's sit together, let's practice this. I'm gonna show you something." So they were not interested. And so I was suggested to open up a meetup group called so I called it Exploring Femininity, because I wanted other women in London area where we can just meet and share experiences and practice together. um, Possibly one or two other women, so that we can do this practice on a weekly basis in my living room. So that was my intention, and literally a month I had over 800 women join in and writing to me, and I freaked out. And I was like, oh my God, what am I supposed to do with so many women? Like, wow, this is interesting data. So it was then when my mentor, she was telling me that, listen, you do not have to be healed in order to hold space for others, and you can still be in the practice zone and practice with others, but you need to learn how to hold space, how to energetically hold containers. And so I was simultaneously learning facilitation versus inner work. And that's how my company Exploring Femininity was born. There was no intention to do that, but yeah, goddess led me here.
Do you have specific goddesses that you work with?
Yes, yes. Specifically these days, we were talking before, Goddess Kali is someone that I'm highly attached to. I work with archetypes a lot. So I work with Mary Magdalene. I work with Lilith. archetype. So over the last 6 years of my life, I have been specifically working with the dark feminine archetype because I feel that this was the missing piece in my integration. Everybody talks about sacred feminine rising and all the love and light, but then there is so much juice and and goodness and potentiality in our dark feminine archetype that not many talk about, and we just kind of like ignore. So that really helped me to bring it full circle, because what I noticed that the more I was doing the feminine healing work, the more I was feeling anger and sadness and disappointment. So it was not a love and light and happy journey for me, and I was questioning my sanity. Like, am I crazy? Why am I feeling this? Like, I've done so much work, so I should know better, I should do better, I should feel better. And integrating this dark feminine wisdom was the piece that really brought home to me. Yeah, so dark feminine goddesses for now.
I love that. So do they come to you in specific ways? Like most like when people channel, they work with their psychic abilities. I know you said the archetype, but how does it show up for you? Like how does that work for you?
um so I didn't, yeah, well, here's interesting thing. I started reading about Kali. I had known Kali for a really long time, since I was a child. Kali temples are all around in India and in my neighborhood, and like so. Uh, Kali Puja it's a very famous festival in India every October, November. So I know all of these, Lakshmi and Kali specifically. We did it in schools even. We would get holidays, and so I knew all of these things about her, but she looked so scary to me. And so the more I was reading, I did not know that I was channeling this wisdom that was so compassionate and so holding. It was not crazy fire destruction, but it was holding me into some kind of understanding. And so that's why I would feel that I did not call it channeling, but I felt presence, I would say. And probably that was channeling, right? Because how do you know that it is happening? When I started journaling, I had this whole new idea from Mary Magdalene, channeled as well, which was really beautiful, around the dark feminine archetype. And I realized that I have not known these goddesses, these archetypes in their entirety. I have known only the light side, but when I'm looking at the dark side, there is so much more, and it is very compassionate space. So it was through journaling. I was just downloading all of it, and I was surprised. And sometimes I would talk about it to my friends or in circles. And when they would ask me to repeat, I will have no idea what I said. And they will be like, that's so good. Like, can you repeat that? And I'll be like, oh, what? So yeah, it was through writing and speaking, I would say.
So you automatic write then?
Yes, I do.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I love it. And this is one of the reasons I would not be able to have long nails, because I just don't know how to write. Because I still write. And I am an old school girl. Like, I sit with my diary, I write all the time, and this is the way for me. I think the goddess flows and speaks through me, and I become a hollow bamboo.
When you work with Callie, like in your writing, do you ever, if you're not in alignment with what you're supposed to be doing, do you ever feel like they have that strong, powerful energy where they're like, no, we're gonna nudge you into it?
Yes, of course. And we cannot take these goddesses lightly. And with Kali, it's like she is a destroyer, but she only destroys that can be destructible, I would say, that can be killed, that can be dissolved. And so, and which is mostly our ego, right?
Mm.
So I have to really start looking at those places within myself where I was not in integrity with myself. So a lot of little nuances that I had to, like, course correct while working with Kali specifically, because I knew that she is going to come for me if I'm not showing up in integrity. And really what she showed me is places where I was my own oppressor. And this was like bit by bit realization, and it's very intimidating but really vulnerable journey to see yourself as your real oppressor, because there are so many external influences. We can blame the patriarchy, we can blame our lineage and society and traumas, but then there is a huge part of us we oppress ourselves. And that was one of the biggest I would say revelation. And so when I commune with Kali, I need to really see like, okay, where am I repressing my power? And from that space, I go into this channeling, even if I don't know the how to dissolve it or where to take it from there or what to do about it. Just acknowledgement of it was relieving, and I was always held. Oftentimes in pools of tears, but I was always held.
When it's like the sad truth of it's a painful process.
Yeah, and I would like to speak to that because it is a painful process. Like not everything is, love and light, and we have the entire spectrum available to us. So I highly advocate the fact that our life is waves and cycles and the entire spectrum. So let's stop um, chasing what is only good, and let's stop chasing what is only happy and fun and high vibe. Instead, learn to hold a big vibe rather than a high vibe, so that in the big vibe we can learn how to hold ourselves when we are feeling angry, sad, shame, fear. All of those dense emotions, they are really real, and they will always exist in us in at different levels, in different capacities. So yeah, so sadness can become like a sensual experience, sensual healing experience.
Oh, big time. I completely agree. I think my favorite is when I start to spiral in like a specific aspect of my life. It's like, oh, even though I'm breaking down, I feel like my world is ending. It's like, okay, I'm shifting. Thank you for this. And you like have to hold that space and allow yourself to go through those emotions. But I think the
Yeah.
knowing that there's something better coming, but you still have to be able to hold that space and feel it.
Exactly. And also having false expectations about ourselves as women. We cycle, we have our high times, we have our low times. This is part of being a woman, the cycle, the cycle of emotions, right? So having false expectations that we should always feel good and happy and outward, and it's just counterproductive. In fact, it is delusional. And I think we then chase something that doesn't exist. It's not being woman.
I agree 100%. I love that. You have a free gift. Can you share with the audience what your free gift is?
Yeah, so I was channeling. I was feeling into the topic of our conversation, and I was guided to present the dark feminine listening practice. And this is for women to connect with the dark feminine archetype within them. It's an audio guide, I think around 14 to 15 minutes, where I take you on a sound journey to just listen to the whispers, and not just listen but also then respond. So yeah, that's my free gift offer.
Wow, thank you. You guys make sure you click that button down below and claim that amazing free gift, especially with the dark feminine. It's powerful. Can you share with the audience what your offer is?
Yes, and in extension to that, I would like to share about my upcoming in-person retreat, which is the Dark Feminine Initiation. And this is a leadership retreat for space holders like coaches, healers, anyone who has been giving a lot. I feel like we women in general are space holders in all capacity. So it is a place for us to come together and revitalize our life force energy, but particularly working with the dark feminine archetypes of Kali, Lilith, and Sekhmet. Um, so that we work through purification of our hearts, our wounds, and our visions. So yeah, this is a leadership retreat, and I feel that this is the missing link to feminine leadership.
Wow, that's powerful. Thank you. You guys make sure you click the other link down below. Um, would you mind ending us off with a healing or a message, whatever you feel called to do?
A message that is just coming through me right now is the fact that this is the time for us to feel into our darkness and no longer be afraid of it, but to look at in ways where we would see our patterns, our stories, our conditionings, and then turn it into creative power. I feel that we women hold so much sadness and heaviness, and this is such juicy content, creative power, art form that is ready to be birthed through you, and I cannot wait for you to hold space in that.